Now on CoastTV News.
Hurricane Erin's coastal threat, Ocean City waves, could lead to more problems in the coming days. A 70-year-old parking officer assaulted in Bethany Beach. What led up to the altercation?
Well, it was a hot and humid end to our weekend, tracking the threat of a few gusty thunderstorms here through the evening. Then it's cooler temperatures to start the week, and then all eyes on Hurricane Erin and what it will mean for Delmarva later in the week.
This is CoastTV News at 6.
People out today enjoying the water and the beach in Ocean City. Good evening, I'm Brandon Ferguson. Welcome to CoastTV News at 6. We begin tonight with future rip currents expected. And dangers Hurricane Erin can bring along the beach, future waves could lead to stronger rip currents. CoastTV News reporter Kevin Sapay shows us what you can do if you find yourself stuck in the current.
As the waves crash hard, families are enjoying their vacation in Ocean City. But local John Simcox is getting ready for Hurricane Erin.
We're on alert. Erin is coming, but she's going to be offshore. So we're going to have big waves. We're going to have a lot of rip current.
And Simcox not the only one. According to the Ocean City Beach Patrol Lieutenant Mike Stone, the incoming hurricane could lead to more dangers when it comes to the rip current.
When you have a break in the sandbar, that water is sort of exiting, heading back out, and it makes people feel like they're being either pulled under or pulled away from the beach.
So what happens if you get stuck in the current? According to the Ocean City Beach Patrol, swim even with the shoreline until the current weakens, then swim to the shore. If that doesn't work, float or tread water and call or wave for a nearby lifeguard.
We always encourage people to swim only when lifeguards are on duty, whether you're at the beach or at a pool. We're on duty from 10 to 5:30.
According to Lieutenant Stone, rough waves could develop here along the Ocean City Beach next week, and the Ocean City Beach Patrol will be keeping an eye out on the conditions daily. I'm Kevin Zapay in Ocean City, CoastTV News.
The time is now 6:03, and we're going to bring in First Alert meteorologist Chris Mastrobuono and look into a packed Ocean City beach. And Chris, you know, it's been calm weather-wise, but it's anything but calm in the waters right now.
Yeah, and the water is only going to be getting rougher from here on out. Tomorrow into Tuesday, and then really Wednesday through Thursday is going to kind of be the peak wave action we expect, all courtesy of Hurricane Erin. Now, kind of going through a kind of an eyewall replacement cycle here over the last 24 hours. We peaked at a Category 5 yesterday, now a Category 3 storm, 125 mile an hour sustained winds, gusts to 150. Now, this storm is going to re-intensify back to a Category 4 as it begins to turn northward. And then as it turns northward, the storm is actually going to kind of expand and kind of get wider as it pushes north. And you can see it's going to be a Category 2 storm well off of our coast. The center about 500-600 miles, but that is going to kick up wave action, and the swells are only going to be intensifying, especially as we get into Thursday. 6 to 12 foot swells, and that's going to produce life-threatening rip currents really beginning Tuesday, and then we're going to be likely seeing coastal flooding as well as beach erosion. We're tracking the threat of a few isolated storms this evening, all thanks to a cold front. We'll talk more about that coming up in the full 7-day forecast.
We have breaking news out of Ocean City. OCFD says today, just after 4 p.m., a pedestrian was hit by a car on Waterview Drive, resulting in an aviation response. The person was transported to a trauma center. The current medical condition has not yet been released of the person who was hit. Bethany Beach police say a man is facing felony charges after assaulting a parking enforcement officer yesterday. Officers say 24-year-old Eric Pelusa of Maryland attacked a 70-year-old parking officer who was writing him a ticket. Police say Peluso tackled the officer to the ground, threw the officer's tablet at him, and even put his foot on the officer's throat. He was stopped and arrested a short time later, and the victim was treated at a local hospital. A beloved playground in Lewis is raising safety concerns. Parents say the Canal Front Park playground is just too close to the water. You can see it there on your screen, and they should have a fence up. Those parents warn that without a barrier, children could run from the play area to the water in seconds, turning a day of fun into tragedy. Supporters are now urging city officials to act, with a petition set to be presented at the next Parks and Recreation meeting on Monday. Advocates point to CDC data showing drowning is one of the leading causes of accidental death for children, especially toddlers. Yesterday afternoon, the Lewis Fire Department was called to a shed fire on Will King Road. When crews arrived, they found heavy fire throughout the detached structure. Multiple hand lines were used to bring the flames under control and protect nearby property. Firefighters from Milton and Rehoboth Beach stations both assisted, and the fire was contained to the garage, preventing it from spreading to the adjacent home. And for full disclosure, Lewis Fire Chief Robert Stevens is the husband of CoastTV Assistant News Director and anchor Madeline Overturf. And firefighters were also busy over in Millville. Take a look at this response to a gas leak at a giant supermarket. Crews found an underground propane tank had been dislodged, releasing a large amount of gas. Firefighters used hoses and monitors to safely redirect the venting propane away from the store and into a nearby woods. The gas company later determined the tank was damaged with no way to shut it off. Crews continued redirecting the flow until the 1,000-gallon tank was empty. And take a look at this. This is the aftermath of a crash overnight on the overhead bridge along Route 13 in Salisbury. It happened just after 1 a.m. when a car struck a guardrail in part of the bridge, causing a large fuel spill. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but Route 13 was shut down for much of the night while crews worked to clean up that spill.
Well, it's going to be a mild, muggy evening with a threat of a few gusty thunderstorms, at least through the early part of the evening. And we'll talk about a big cool down into the start of next week and the latest on Hurricane Erin coming up.
But first on Coast TV News at 6, the White House prepares for the arrival of Ukrainian President Zelensky for a high-stakes meeting with Trump. Plus, the full list of European powers who will join those two to help navigate a plan for peace.
This is Coast TV News at 6.
Ukrainian President Zelensky will meet with President Donald Trump tomorrow in Washington to discuss the results of Trump's meeting Friday with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the war in Ukraine. The conflict began back in 2022 when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The U.S. is trying to negotiate a peace deal between the two countries, but it's a complicated process.
We call it a ceasefire or it's a peace deal. Stop the killing. It's so important to have as soon as possible a trilateral meeting.
Ukrainian and many European leaders want NATO-type security guarantees. And under the NATO agreement, an attack on one country is considered an attack against all allies. But that's something Russia is likely to strongly oppose. Zelensky and Trump will meet tomorrow. And more on European leaders. They will join the big meeting at the White House tomorrow, more than previously expected. A total of 7 key European and NATO leaders now making their way to the nation's capital to take part in that meeting in the Oval Office. According to Reuters, the French president and Italian prime minister will also join the meeting, as well as NATO's security general, the European Commission president, and the British Prime Minister, Finland's president, and the German Chancellor. These leaders will help to navigate America's new approach to ending the war.
Well, we hit 90 degrees today. Over the next 2 days, we're going to struggle to get to the 80-degree mark with a lot of clouds and scattered showers. And then the seas are going to be getting pretty rough, especially as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. We'll talk more about that, track some storms moving into the area tonight in that full 7-day forecast. Well, it was a hot one today under mostly sunny skies with a 90 in Georgetown, 90 Cambridge, 91 Easton, and 92 in Dover, 85 in Ocean City, and that is the place to be. But those seas are going to be getting very rough here over the course of the next 3 to 4 days, and then especially as we go into Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to be seeing some pretty impressive swells hit the Delmarva Peninsula. We're at 83 right now in Rehoboth, 88 Georgetown, 88 in Seaford. Very muggy out there with dew points in the lower to mid 70s. And we already have rip current statements up. These run through Tuesday. Now, these are kind of intervals, but we're going to be dealing with dangerous rip currents really Tuesday through Friday up and down the Delmarva coast, as well as these small craft advisories. These will likely get upgraded to gale warnings, I think, later on in the week, but those extend all the way out through Friday and then Wednesday off the coast from Ocean City down to Chicotee. So we're tracking some thunderstorms to our west. We had one severe thunderstorm, Cecil County. That's beginning to weaken, but it's sliding to the southeast. But this line, narrow line of severe warning storms just west of Washington, and these are all slicing to the southeast, all out of a cold front. So we'll have a threat for a thunderstorm here over the next few hours, and then that threat will kind of wane through the overnight. So Futurecast shows some of those storms making it to the eastern shore here through about 8, 9 o'clock, and then they'll generally weaken as they push to the east, and we're looking at primarily dry conditions into early Monday morning. 69 to 74 overnight with the isolated shower and storm early. We wake up partly sunny skies, but a lot of clouds tomorrow. We're going to see that east wind develop, and I think we're going to struggle to get to 80. I think these temperatures are a little generous, 81 dewy, but I think most of the area stays in the mid 70s with those scattered showers and pockets of drizzle developing through the afternoon. So it's going to be a rather damp day tomorrow and then through the evening. And then we're going to continue that easterly flow even into Tuesday with a lot of cloud cover, struggling to get to 80 with pockets of scattered showers and areas of drizzle. But we stay well below average for most of the week. Average high 86. We're in the 70s over the next 2 days and then barely getting to 80 over the next 3 from Wednesday through Friday. So here's the latest on Erin. Category 3 storm, 125 mile an hour sustained winds, gusts to 155. This is likely going to become a 4 this evening. Continue to push to the north and then make that curve. You see where it's at by a Thursday, well off our coast, but dangerous swells, rip currents. We're likely going to be dealing with some coastal flooding issues, beach erosion. I'll be surprised if they let anybody in the water on Thursday, due in part to the high swells that we're expecting. Waves upwards of 10 to 12 feet by Thursday. That's the peak, and then we'll see that kind of suppress and the wave action kind of wind down as we go into the day on Saturday. But there you see, we'll be dealing with some of the high clouds touching the coast as we go into Thursday, some of those outer bands from Erin. Dangerous swells and rip currents Wednesday through Friday, and then looking pretty nice next weekend with temperatures in the lower 80s.
Thank you, Chris. And now let's get into the history of Hurricane Erin so far. Hurricane hunters flew into the eye of the hurricane to gather data. It was noted one of the most rapidly intensifying storms in the Atlantic Ocean's history. On Friday, Erin was a Category 1 hurricane. Then yesterday, it was upgraded to a Category 5, with CoastTV meteorologists clocking near 160 mile-per-hour winds. And this morning, Erin weakened back to a Category 3. Coming up after the break, what the First Lady of the United States had to say in an emotional letter addressed to Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's up next. First Lady Melania Trump penned a passionate letter to Russian President Vladimir Putin. It urges him to protect the children as the war between Russia and Ukraine rages on. President Donald Trump presented the letter to Putin during their summit in Alaska on Friday. The First Lady called on Putin to protect, quote, the innocence of children and nurture the next generation's hope. Still to come here on CoastTV News at 6, a free spay and neuter surgeries for cats. That's happening tomorrow. Where cat owners can go is next. Humane Animal Partners is offering free spay and neuter surgeries for cats. At its Rehoboth Beach location in the Midway Plaza, the clinic is set for tomorrow, August 18th, and includes a free rabies vaccine if needed. There are no income requirements to participate in this program, but it is by appointment only. And after the break here on CoastTV News at 6, as we take a look into a calm Rehoboth Beach, we have a final check on your forecast. A Dorchester County school is giving its students a new way to manage their mental health. Cambridge South Dorchester High School installed a healing garden ahead of the new school year. School officials say the space will promote psychological and social well-being through therapeutic horticulture. The space has accessible entrances and raised planted beds for native plants and sensory elements in Dorchester County.
Well, we're keeping a close eye on thunderstorm activity out to our west. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning just west of Washington. This narrow line of storms is continuing to push to the southeast ahead of a cold front that's going to usher in some cooler air. We're at 91 in Dover. Watch for that gusty storm through the evening and some brief gusty winds. Get your forecast anytime by dialing the First Alert Weather phone, and your 10-day forecast shows a lot of clouds. A lot of low clouds, some drizzle, and some scattered showers to start the week. Temperatures barely getting to 80 over the next 2 days. And then we talk about those dangerous rip currents really beginning Tuesday, and the peak of those waves really Thursday, and then they'll start to kind of wind down into the weekend. But we stay pretty dry next weekend with temperatures holding into the lower 80s.
Thank you for joining us here for Coast TV News at 6. For more news and local weather, you can download our Coast TV News app. Be sure to join us tonight at 11. Until then, have a great night.